Hello, Potato. So if you follow me on Instagram at Void of Intelligence, you'll be aware that I had a little spot of health difficulty about a week ago. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about it other than say that I am fine now. I'm here back with you and recording, and things are as well as they were a week ago. It's only probably about the second time in my adult life I've ever really gone into the hospital in an emergency situation for myself. And it's the first time I've ever had to stay overnight. So it's a brand new experience for me. And part of that experience is hospital food. Now, my previous experience with hospital food has always been in the cafeteria, which is, pretty hit or miss. There are some hospitals around here that have some quite good cafeterias, and some that are not so much. But I've never really tried the food they give to the patients, which, at least at this hospital, appears to pretty much all be frozen meals that have been reheated. But it was an experience, and how could I not document that experience? I mean, again, I put some stuff up on Instagram, including pictures of all the things I'm going to talk about here. But I was in that room initially, that first room I was in, for about 15 hours. And by myself for pretty much all of it. It's an isolated room, and they had very short staff due to, conditions. So I was in there pretty much by myself with just me and various screeching alarms for a number of hours. And eventually they did, after they decided they were going to keep me overnight, they eventually did bring me some dinner. So what's going to follow is a video I recorded of that dinner because, I'm there, I'm by myself, I'm in a reasonably private room. How could I not make content for you guys with this? So the sound is probably going to be a little weird. I know there definitely were alarms going off in the background during some of it. And I know I was also talking in a lower voice than I normally talk in because, hospital. I don't know what the rules are about recording video in the hospital, but I'm pretty sure they don't like it. And I didn't want to advertise that I was doing it, or did somebody wonder why I was in there talking to myself. So let's cut to the videos of my dinner, my very first ever hospital meal. And then we'll go back and we'll discuss some other stuff. Hello, Potato. What you see before you is my first ever hospital patient meal. I have never stayed in a hospital to the point where I would get a meal. So let's take a look at what I've got here. I've got some lentil soup, a roll, some margarine for the roll, looks like chicken and vegetables and rice maybe, milk and applesauce. Alright, so obviously I can't do a full video on this because if nothing else I have to hold the camera. I don't have a tripod with me, but let's check it out and see how it is. Alright, let's check out this lentil soup. I hope the sound on this is okay. It's really quiet in here. I don't want to talk too loudly. Is lentil soup supposed to be green? I always thought it was brown. It said lentil on the lid though. Smells good. Looks decent. It's cold, but it's not bad. Let me finish that and I'll move on to something else. Oh, and ignore that. That's for after. So it looks like it's lentils and carrots and rice. And even being cold, it's not bad. I'm not usually a huge lentil soup fan, but this is good even cold. So that's a plus. Now really we'll move on to the next thing. All right, I was wrong. This isn't rice. This is actually the chicken here. That's all veg. I thought that was a piece of grilled chicken. That appears to be a piece of potato. So I don't like mushrooms. So I'm gonna have to just eat around that. Let's see if I can take a bite without having to use the knife. This actually is warm. It is actually heated up. So is the roll. It's just the soup. Nah, I'm gonna have to get a knife. We'll have to cut while I cut it. All right, got to cut. Now it was a little tough to cut, but also it's a plastic fork. But looks okay, smells okay. It's not tough to chew, so I think it's just a knife. I'll probably eat the broccoli and the potato out of here. I'm not going to be eating... Are those carrots or those peppers? think those are peppers. I'm not going to eat them with the peppers. If they're carrots, I'll eat them. Yeah, it's broccoli and potato. I mean, it's better than airline food. Of course, to be fair, the last 2 times I've flown the airline, it's either just like peanuts or a bagged sandwich. So, I mean, that's a pretty low bar. But, you know, for the rap that hospital food gets, this is pretty decent. I mean, it's like an upper scale frozen meal, which I'm sure is what it was. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, so let's, I'm going to eat that, and then I'll move on to something else. It would be nice if the broccoli was a little more the florets and a little less of the stalk, but, you know, broccoli's good. It's not overcooked, it's not mushy, it's got a little crunch to it, and that's always nice. Yep, those are like bell peppers, not eating those, they're nasty. But the potatoes are actually really good if you get a little bit of the sauce from the chicken on them. It really gives a nice flavor to it. Yeah, because, you know, they don't give any salt or anything to season them with, but that sauce is actually pretty flavorful. All right, next we have our roll, which actually is a pretty decent little roll. It's cooled out a little bit since they dropped it off, because I'm eating it third. But let's break it open and see what it looks like on the inside. Yeah, just a pretty basic wheat roll. Just put some smart balanced spread on it, which is really hard to do one-handed. So I guess I will have to cut again and put the margarine on there. All right, so we've got our margarine spread up all on it. Let's give it a try. It's a bread roll, it's what you'd expect. Pretty soft, a little chewy because it's been like reheated in this plastic wrapper, but not bad overall. Not as good as the chicken. I think the chicken was our best thing. The soup probably would have been the best had it been, you know, heated. But we still have our applesauce. I'm not going to talk about milk because it's milk, you know what milk tastes like, or you don't. But we'll try the applesauce next and for our pudding. I'm sorry about that beeping noise you keep hearing. It's just one of the monitors in the background. I can't do much about it. It's not reading things properly. So we'll finish off with our applesauce by U.S. Foods. It's packed in unsweetened apple juice. And I'm going to have to use both hands to open this, I think. All right. It's quite cold. Colder than the soup, but I think it's supposed to be. It was just normal, bog standard applesauce. And yep, that's exactly what it tastes like. It's nothing particularly special. It's just applesauce. But I guess it's better than, you know, the stereotype of hospitals giving you Jell-O, right? All right, so I think that's going to finish it up. I probably will jump ahead to future me, who's probably did some sort of intro, and we'll do some sort of outro. So thank you for watching this, and I turn it over to future me. And yep, that was my first meal. Obviously, I didn't talk about the... Oh, hold on. Oops, sorry for interrupting future me, but it's skim milk. It is easily the worst thing in this meal. Wow, I don't like skim milk. I'm going to drink it because it's what there is. But, yeah, if I'd realized it was skim, which, I mean, it's clearly marked, I probably would have drank it first and not had it be the last thing I taste from what was otherwise a pretty decent meal. So, yay for hospital food and for my first ever hospital meal. All right, back to future me. So yeah, skim milk was nasty. I am reasonably sure that this meal was just kind of whatever the nurse could throw together that was left from dinner. It was well after the time when they would normally, I think, serve dinner to the patients. So I think they just kind of threw together whatever they could find. I'm sure that's also why the lentil soup was cold. But still, honestly, one of the better things I ate while I was there. I would actually say that dinner was the best meal I had while I was there. I didn't end up having 3 meals. They didn't release me until after lunch the next day. They were going to release me, but it takes a long time for the number of people who work there to deal with the number of patients they have. The ward I was in was full. I was very fortunate in that I got a private room, so I could at least take pictures of some of these things, but I no longer felt comfortable recording them. Initially, especially with breakfast, the nurse was actually in the room with me most of the time while I was eating it. So there's just kind of the one picture of the breakfast food without it really opened up and looked at. But we'll talk about it a bit. The picture of it should be up on the screen now. So breakfast consisted of whole grain French toast with some clearly frozen and reheated blueberries in there. But they weren't bad. Came with a packet of syrup and a wet nap because, syrup. And a couple of turkey breakfast sausages. Now, I'm not a huge fan of breakfast sausage. It just tastes weird to me. I like sausages, just breakfast sausage. The seasoning in breakfast sausage just never really does much for me. Aside from that, that was our main. We had a banana. I don't like fruit. Let's be clear on that. I don't like fruit. It's not an issue of just not eating healthy food, because I love salads. Give me salad, give me some steamed broccoli. I prefer vegetables. If they give me a bowl of steamed broccoli with my breakfast, I'd have been quite content with that. But I did eat the banana because, it was there. And I know these meals are kind of designed to be a particular balance based on, why you're in the hospital. So, also, it's only the second meal I'd had at this point, about 36 hours. So, I ate it. We upgraded to low-fat milk in the second meal, which was nice. It was drinkable. Low-fat milk is usually what I get. I usually get 1% or 2%, depending on what's available. So low-fat milk is what I'm used to. Skim milk just, frankly, tastes like it's already going bad to me. If the best-by date on that skim milk had been passed, I wouldn't have been surprised. And a packet of corn flakes were in there, and that was, basic. I suppose I could have cut up that banana and put it in with the cornflakes, and that probably would have been better, but I didn't think of that at the time. And then there was a little packet of juice, which was, what was it, orange tangerine. And yeah, that was okay. And of course a packet of Smart Balance butter substitute margarine and stuff to put on the French toast, which of course, had like no real firmness to it. It was microwaved. It even had instructions on the label on what to reheat it at. So, there was no artifice that it was fresh, like they had made it in the cafeteria and brought it up. Clearly this was made somewhere else frozen and then reheated. But it wasn't bad. It was the second best meal of the lot. And yeah, there's only the one picture of it because the nurse was literally in the room with me for most of that meal. I thought of leaving the food sitting there, and wait till she left, but really by that point the food would have been cold and there probably would have been questions about why I wasn't eating. So rather than potentially risk having to be kept longer in the hospital, I ate my food. And I was supposed to get released before lunch. But again, things just take a while. So eventually they came and brought me a lunch plate, which, at first looks, doesn't look bad. Sadly, this was the worst meal of the three. And it seems like it should have been the most innocuous. Looking at it, it was a chicken salad sandwich croissant on whole wheat croissant, some quinoa salad, chicken noodle soup, watermelon, cranberry juice, and I don't know if that the vegetable up in the top corner there was meant to be put on the sandwich, or because it was literally like a piece of lettuce, a grape tomato, and 2 slices of cucumber. So I'm not sure what exactly the idea behind that was, but I ate the cucumber. This is where things kind of, fell apart as far as meals went, and of course, naturally, they came to discharge me right after the food was delivered, so it became, let me know when you're done eating. And that translated to another hour or two. So first off, I started with the chicken noodle soup. I figured, that should be fine, right? No, not so much. It was hot this time, so that was nice. And that's the last nice thing I can really say about it, because it had absolutely no flavor. It wasn't good. To be fair, I think like a lot of us, most of my experience with chicken noodle soup is the stuff that comes out of a tin from Campbell's, which, has like an entire salt shaker worth of salt in it. So that's what I'm used to. That's, that's kind of like my bar for lifetime. And this didn't meet that. It looked good. It had big chunks of carrot, had celery, which I don't care for, big chunks of chicken, big noodles. It looked good. It looks good in the picture. You can see it. It didn't taste good. Now, there was actually a salt packet on my tray, which surprised me. I would have figured they would not be giving me salt, but they did. I didn't use it, though. I ate the soup as it was. Then for drink, it came with a little 4-ounce cup of cranberry juice, which in the picture, that first picture, I think it looks an awful lot like a Jell-O cup, and it's not. There was no dessert. Oh, I guess the watermelon was meant to be the dessert in this one. Cup of cranberry juice, which wasn't bad. I think it was like fiber-enhanced cranberry juice or something like that. Fiber cranberry cocktails. So yeah, I guess that's reasonably clear. And now the main entree itself, as you can see in the picture, it looks fine. I figured the quinoa salad should be fine. It's a quinoa salad. How do you screw that up? And the answer is, You screw that up by putting basically like a scoop of pico de gallo in it. There was a bunch of onion and tomato in there, and I didn't care for that. I would have almost just preferred plain quinoa, frankly. But I ate it. And then the sandwich was kind of the least offensive. It did have bits of celery chopped up into it. Now, I know most people are going, what's wrong with that? And the answer of what's wrong with that is that when it comes to those kinds of salads, chicken, tuna salad, egg salad, they should contain the meat or the protein, so, in this case, chicken, mayonnaise, some seasoning like some pepper, maybe some salt if it's warranted, usually it isn't, maybe even a little bit of mustard if you want to be fancy. And that should be it. It shouldn't crunch. If you want your chicken salad sandwich to crunch, you put crunchy things between the meat and the bread. You don't put it into the meat. And yep, this had celery. Thankfully, it was chopped up pretty small. It wasn't, it was too small to bother fishing out. It didn't negatively affect the taste overall in the same way the onions and tomato affected the quinoa. The sandwich was decent. The quinoa salad was just really disappointing. And the watermelon I didn't eat because there are limits. There are limits to what I will eat. And watermelon is beyond those limits at this point. At this point, I'd also had a full day's worth of meals in the space of 24 hours. And was also getting ready to leave and didn't feel like I needed to be that into eating it. That is my culinary adventures in the hospital. My first 3 ever hospital meals. Now, of course, when you go to the hospital, because they're going to bill you for every little thing in the room anyways, whether you use it or not, it's kind of like the hotel, where you take the shampoo and the stationery and the pens and the pillowcases and that nice picture over the bed. It's same thing in the hospital. You take whatever isn't nailed down. So I have souvenirs. Let's look at those souvenirs. First off, the socks. Yep, when you stay at the hospital, at least at this hospital, you get the non-skid socks because their blankets are approximately 1 millimeter thick and not exactly warm. That was kind of the worst part. The bed, I quite like the bed. I personally would like to get rid of the couch and replace it with a hospital bed. All adjustable. It was quite comfortable for watching TV. Weird thing on the TV there is I had a private room, which is nice. Private bathroom. It was. I've stayed in worse hotels, but the sound for the TV comes out of the handset. So it's a little weird because, I hear the sound and I want to look over at that like I'm watching something on my phone or my Kindle. And of course the TV's across the room and the sound is coming out next to my head. So that's a little weird, but that's kind of the point. Yep, I got the socks. You can see they're the extra, extra large. They are the biggest ones they had. And they fit like ankle socks on me. I saw most people walking around being led on a lap around the ward or pod or whatever they actually call it. Wing, maybe? I don't know. They have these kind of socks on, and they went up their ankles like normal, proper, everyday socks. No, not for me. These barely covered my ankles, but they worked. And now I have my own pair. And, of course, they give you things like this. Let's see if you can figure out what I first thought this was. And I won't go into it. I'll tell you what it is, though. It's a moist cotton towel, lavender scented. Yep, obviously I didn't use it, but it's always important to know where your towel is. So I did take the moist cotton towel as a souvenir of my adventure. The one bit of these things that I did use aside from the socks, the comb. Yep, I combed my hair before I left. Always good to have a comb. Combs are always useful to have for a variety of things. Not quite as useful as towels, but useful. And toothbrush and toothpaste. Yeah, they used to have a different brand of toothpaste in there. I know from other people's stays. That had a big mouth on it that always made me think of the smiling god from Welcome to Night Vale. This is Dawn Mist, gel fluoride toothpaste. Didn't try it, didn't use it. By the time I actually got into my room on that night, it was after 11 o'clock, and they weren't really letting me get up and walk around. And I don't think they actually brought me any drinking water till the morning, because I think the people responsible for that sort of stuff weren't there anymore. It was kind of just the nurses, the people who, do the more service-oriented stuff, like bringing food and emptying dustbins and things. They had all gone for the night. So I don't think they actually brought me any drinking water, but that was okay because, I hadn't really been out of bed for like 14 hours at that point. and they had pumped me all full of liquids earlier, so I really wasn't thirsty. But yeah, so I didn't brush my teeth that night, and by the next morning, like, well, going home in a few hours, I can brush them there. Yep, those are my souvenirs. Those are my meals. I hope you found this at all interesting. Obviously, next week we will go back to something normal, open a blind box or something. But I thought just this week, because that was an experience for me, and frankly, that's as close to getting able to go to an event and review food as I'm probably going to get this year. So why not? I hope you found it at all interesting. If you've had hospital food, I hope you can appreciate either how much better or how much worse my meals were. Maybe leave stuff in the comments letting me know what your experiences were with hospital food, and I will try to respond. I think I give this warning periodically when I talk about leaving comments. I am inherently an unsocial person, so if I don't respond to your comment, I will try to at least give it a like, unless I really don't like it. But if I don't respond directly to your comment, I'm not snubbing you, I am not super outgoing. I know you think that's weird. I've recorded over 100 videos on this channel. How can I not be outgoing? I'm just not. But I do hope you found this all interesting. If you did, please give the video a like. As I said, don't worry, next week we'll be back onto normal blind boxes and bad foods, or bad for you foods. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.